Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for a panel called Holding the Line for Democracy. Before we kickstart the panel and I introduce our amazing panelists, I want to give it to a very special guest who couldn't join us in person, but it's Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, who has a message for all of us, who will set the tone for the rest of the panel. So could we have Secretary Hillary Clinton's message, please?
Forum. Let me begin by thanking President Angel Gurria and Director General Justin Vase and their teams for convening this vital conversation. I think it's fair to say we all share a simple but profound belief that a more peaceful, cooperative, and prosperous future is possible. Whether we get there depends on our commitment to working together. This year's theme, New Coalitions for Peace, People, and the Planet, speaks to the need for multilateral solutions. We are living through a time of extraordinary disruption. Across the globe, violent conflict tears communities apart. Democratic institutions are under pressure in every region. Our planet is pushed to the brink by climate change, and the development of new technologies has the potential to both expand human possibility and threaten the progress we've made. The pace of change is accelerating, and the complexity of our challenges grows greater every day. We cannot meet them as nations alone. That is why we must reinvent diplomacy for a new era. Diplomacy that builds bridges rather than walls, that brings together governments and private sector leaders, scientists and activists, voices young and old. Achieving a future of peace and prosperity will require these kinds of coalitions of conscience and courage. It will require a chorus of voices from every aspect of society. So I ask all of you, policymakers, civil society leaders, experts, engaged citizens alike, please imagine greatly, act boldly, work together to help us find new answers and solutions. Thank you for your commitment to that goal. I know that together we can meet the moment. We can forge a better future for all people across our globe. And yes, we can also protect the planet we share. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Secretary Clinton. I am going to get right to our panelists. So we have with us Gabriela Hearst, who is the creative fashion director of the namesake brand Gabriela Hearst and a member of the steering committee of the Paris Peace Forum. We have with us Dr. Mayada Adil, who is a young leader for the SDGs for the UN Youth Office. We have with us Michael Galeano, who's the ambassador for education for UNICEF International. And on the extreme end with us, we have Kiara and Nirghin, the co-founder of Chima. Please tell me if I pronounced anything wrong. I'm going to get to a few facts, right? So in the 20th century alone, we have lost so many species that never before have we lost these amount of species to mass extinction. The amount of animals disappearing are at the rate of 30 to 120 times more than any other time in the past 66 million years. And this is biodiversity. Those are non-renewable resources. But the good news is, to quote Al Gore, political will and politicians are renewable resources. So the reason why I wanted to host this panel is so that we don't need to hold a congratulatory talk shop about everything that's going well, but first talk about the things that's not working and have an intersection of youth, politics, and culture to then get to real solutions, because this is what the Paris Peace Forum's commitment is, to go beyond a talk shop. So in that spirit, I want to come to you, Dr. Mayada Adil. Can you tell me, you represent Sudan, you come from Sudan. You said something very interesting about how fashion has become your political instrument. What does that mean?
Hello, everyone. I'm honestly happy to be here, and at the same time, I'm nervous. I prepared a lot of things to say. It's just the urgency of the situation of my country, Sudan, required me to say something not only about culture and fashion. imagine a young girl in 2019 used her fashion, to promote a revolution and a diplomatic and the democratic changes that happened in Sudan and toppled the dictator. All the international community were so cheering for us, encouraging the Sudanese youth to lead this change and to take part of this change and to be part of the changes that can happen and to lead the country. Fast forward today, my country is in war, and my country undergoing a genocide right now as we speak in Darfur. 2 days ago, more than 1,000 people died, 300 women been killed and raped, thousands of women been raped. To talk about that in Paris Peace Forum, it get me question, what is peace? What is peace for Sudan? Peace for Sudan could not be an abstract concept, cannot. And even for the global south, all the countries are facing genocides, conflict, and wars. Peace is not an abstract. Peace, it has to come with accountability. Otherwise, we will reward impunity for the paramilitia that are killing people in Sudan, for Ukrainian war, for the Gaza, for Congo as well. We have to take this in consideration when we talk about peace. And we cannot talk about peace without the people that make the peace, which is the youth. And we cannot talk about that if we want a peace in the planet. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Mayada, for sharing. Gabby, I want to come to you. From the beginning of knowing you, you've been doing something quite extraordinary, which is you've been saying, my fashion is political, political is fashion. And most people don't understand that. Could you explain to the people how you got onto this journey and why you inherently believe in your bones that your fashion is political?
Well, I think everything comes from my love of women. And I know from studying archaeologists like Maria Gimbutas that if you put a correlationship between when man dominated nature and the domination of women is hand to hand. When we hear a conflict like the one in Sudan, it's natural resources, but who gets affected first? Women and children. So the lineup of us respecting nature and us respecting women is a very, very tight. And I dress women, I empower them, I think of them all the time, they inspire me. I mean, you know, I'm here with trailblazers and I really, it comes from that love, but it's nothing new, right? Fashion has always been showing us that, reflecting what's going in society. And a very concrete example was the 68 protest in France. Women used to wear gloves to go to work at the time, and they stopped wearing gloves because they didn't want to look like that they were going to go to work. So the political shape changes, and now we're being shaped by two major crises, which is the climate crisis and the digital revolution, and how that is shaping the way we dress and what we make.
I'd also add the old men leading in power, the third major crisis that we're dealing with. Brings me to Kiara. Kiara, you are looking at a lot in the intersection of AI and young people, especially women. Can you talk about, are we equipped at all to look at what new jobs look like for Gen Z?
I think what I always understand is that history isn't about memorizing the past. It's about prototyping the future. And now with technology, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to advance that. For young people, that means that we're living in an age where there has never been a better time to build. For young women, that means that using these tools that have never existed before, we can't just innovate, but we can lead the space because these have never existed. The time of being able to use them and advance them is now. And I think what that means for young people entering the workforce is things that you're learning or things that you're being exposed to right now are going to be fundamentally different in 2026, for example. the models, the technology, artificial intelligence is at an inception point that is changing how we see work, how we see being able to thrive. And for young people, that's an extremely exciting thing. But for young women, that means that we can truly lead the space.
Merci, Kiara. We're going to do the next session in French with Michael. So for those of you who don't understand French, you can shift your channel to 1 for the English translation. Du coup, Michael, tu travailles beaucoup dans
So, Michael, you work a lot at the intersection between youth and politics, and you've been here for 2 days. We agree, right? Are you happy? What did you see when it comes to participation of young people in politics, what we did here? Are you happy? Thank you, Trisha, for this question, because this is a perfect segue into what was said earlier by Mayada and other peers here. Well, this cuts both ways, because the Paris Peace Forum has opened up spaces for young people to occupy and contribute to dialogue for peace. That's good. But on the other hand, and you know, for many years, I heard people, well, this type of events, heard people say this type of events are not made to invite young people. And people said there were many young people here. Well, obviously, we should have many people. Mayada said earlier that peace cannot be built without young people. And this is true, and I'm very happy. I'd like to congratulate all young people who've participated in many panels, including this one. Thank you for being here. When I hear people making such comments, I worked at UNICEF, and I was under criticism. People told me I was not experimented enough with this kind of responsibility, but thanks to these responsibilities and these actions, I could show that I'm strength for peace and power for peace, and we can all show that to people. We're able to change the world. Mayada is a very good example of what's happening today in Sudan. And she's a voice for change. This is a true example to defend peace around the world. We need to show that we are legitimate here, but we are part and parcel of the process to find peace. We are the present and future generation. So we're under time constraints, so I'd like to give time to everyone.
You said something I heard recently in your documentary where you said, I trade in the currency of trust. And that spoke to me deeply. What are you doing that other people in the world of fashion can follow? Because many people, not just fashion, business right now with the current political climate that we're dealing with, no one wants to be political. Everyone is bending their knee. And you, on the other hand, have decided, watch me be more political, watch me do my business, watch me do more fashion. How are you changing the system, and what can the others learn from you?
It's by nothing revolutionary, but just paying attention. Paying attention who is the people that are making your product and where are you taking the ingredients that you make your product, right? And we work very hard with the social component. We work with non-for-profits all over the world that have made our product. And when I work in other companies as well, I've always bring the social component, because I know as a data point that empowering women, you empower communities. So when you give jobs to women, they lift the communities up. So that's really, really important. It's not easy for us to manufacture in Bolivia, but I know that when the woman is earning more, the husband stops beating her. As simple as that. So I'm going to go through the logistics of shipping from Bolivia, and I'm going to do that because it's going to help. So, and I know that doing that, if people just knew how good it feels to have that social component in the product, is the difference between something looking good and feeling good. And then we pay very close attention to where we take our natural fibers for, like the traceability, and also we take a very close attention of who's manufacturing our products where, right? We know exactly who owns our factories in Italy. There's been a lot of issues with supply chain in Italy with factories, and I've told CEOs, if a price is too good to be true, it's too good to be true. It's very simple, just paying attention to the transparency of what you do. And now our clients know that what we're doing, we're giving them the best product we have, and we did our homework. So they can feel safe in the product they wear.
Thank you. It takes a lot to walk the talk and lead the way that you do, so thank you. Du coup, Michael, I want to come back to you.
Michael.
Si aujourd'hui on peut dire Monsieur Jean-Noël Barrot.
Jean-Noël Barrot, the French minister, thank you for your service. We can say that, but we nominated Michael as the new Ministry of Foreign Affairs, let's say. What would you change?
Merci beaucoup, Trisha.
Thank you, Trisha. Well, I'd love to be the Minister of Foreign Affairs one day. To come back to the subject of the forum, I know that the current minister has had an important voice here at the forum. Well, he's eager to hear your answer. So you have the mic, and go ahead, tell us. Well, why not include more panels about young people, and include also a solution whereby you have leaders alongside young people to address many topics, including peace and nature, sustainable development, compact between peace, the peoples and the planet. Young people have many solutions to put forward. Why not do this? And secondly, I'd like to come back on the words of Gabi. This was very relevant, very powerful. If I was minister, maybe including more women in diplomacy. Hillary Clinton said it also. We need to reinvent diplomacy and include women and their ideas. These are marvelous. And if I may, why not be Secretary General of the UN? In this case, well, I'd like to give the opportunity to young people from the South. Young activists cannot go to the UN headquarters because they don't have visas. So why not create new institutions, maybe have institutions take decisions so that young people from the global South may be able to have their voices heard.
How do you see the intersection of AI policy and politics? Are these models equipped to help young women specifically?
I think what's very interesting is that one of the very first female computer scientists, Ada Lovelace, said that machines and artificial intelligence models are nothing more than predictors on what they're actually trained on. And what that means is that the data that they're provided with need to be accountable, they need to be transparent, and they need to have integrity. What that means for young women specifically is being able to be part of that conversation is so important. This conversation is just as important. Being a young woman and being able to see so many incredible women, Gabriela too, it's such an honor to be on a panel with her. Being able to speak about these things and then talk about these things, especially when it comes to AI, is so important, because now more than ever, having women at the table, being able to talk about it at this inflection point is so important. But specifically with the data that these models are trained on, that really means that women can talk about them, be able to advocate for them, and make them as diverse as possible. Because we're only working with predictors of tokens, and what they're exposed to needs to be as diverse and all-encompassing as possible to give us the most results that people can actually take forward into society.
Thank you. I know we're running short of time, but I'm going to take 2 minutes because Mayada's intervention is extremely important. So Mayada, talking about Sudan, the world has failed you. The world has failed the Global South. What can we do to fix this?
I'll start by saying love and peace was never a popular movement. The world is held together by the love and compassion of very few people. And by that, I mean all of you're attending with well intention of bringing peace. So what I urge you for is let's change the narrative that Sudan is not the forgotten war anymore. Let's talk about Sudan, because sometimes talking change and imply a political pressure over the people that persecuting others in Sudan. Please talk about Sudan. Please talk about Sudan and hold your government accountable so they can more pressure the leaders that they're causing this genocide. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to end the session with invoking the words of Anas, the slain journalist from Gaza. And one of his last dying words was, when he was getting threatened extensively and asked to evacuate, he said, I shall not evacuate because maybe if they just see the right dead body, the world will do something. So I don't think people here on stage, especially young people, need to tell you stories of violence, of what their women are going through, children are going through, for you to care. And the truth is, people, politicians especially, will come and ask young people, women, to vote for them, looking at them as a vote bank without giving them seats to actually run for parliament. So please follow all these people. They have solutions that they're already leading with. You don't need to be lazy. You don't need to figure out how to address these world problems. Track them down. Ask them very concretely how you can support their work. And that is the least you can do for Sudan, for Congo, for Gaza, for Ukraine, for the people who are not here within the safety of these walls. I want to thank all of you for sharing your stories and for inspiring this group and for setting the tone for what Paris Peace Forum is, which is real concrete action that lives beyond the walls of these, beautiful Palais de Chaillot. So thank you. Thank you for your bravery.